Hi there and welcome back. Now, following the recent pandemic, many of you may be starting rehearsals again, starting new productions, maybe even starting with a new company. So in today's video, I want to offer you 5 tips on how I like to start when beginning a new production. But before I go any further, can I once again say a massive great thank you to all subscribers. Please do subscribe if you haven't done already to be alerted when new videos are going to be uploaded, and please do continue to send me your questions either here in the comment section on YouTube, or feel free to email me directly at musicdirectoronline@gmail.com. Okay then, let's make a fresh start and start as we mean to go on. When starting work on a new production, whether it's with a company that you're familiar with or maybe a new group of people altogether, I like to begin rehearsals by explaining some ground rules. Now, I use the word explaining rules rather than laying down rules because music directors should never become dictators. None of this my way or the highway stuff. Remember, we are there to inspire and encourage, not to dictate. We are there primarily, I believe, to get the very best out of our company. And in order to do that, I may refer to all kinds of techniques to ensure that I do it. In my first rehearsal in any new production, I will usually try to outline how I like to work. Now, of course, not all music directors work the same, and that's fine. But especially with this first rehearsal, you have the opportunity to make an impression, so to speak, in how things are going to run. Tip number 1 then, punctuality. Punctuality is one of my biggest bugbears. If rehearsals start at 7 p.m, then it starts at 7 p.m. Now, I know it's not always easy to achieve, and companies get into the habit of starting at, say, 7:10. The reason they start at 7:10 though is because they always start at 7:10, because they don't start at 7 p.m. What I'm trying to say is that this perpetual dilemma will never change unless you do actually start at 7 p.m. Okay, so some members may not be there and ready to sing at that time. So what? So I remind all present that I'm looking to start punctually for each rehearsal. If I start the rehearsal with whoever is there at that time and stop the rehearsal every time someone arrives beyond that point, guess what happens? The latecomers soon get tired of being embarrassed by the very fact that I stopped the rehearsal just for them to find their seat. Tip number 2, try to remember everyone's names. Look, I'm going to come clean with you here. I am terrible at remembering names. Some company members' names will stick there, and it's usually because they've played a principal role previously in a company that I'm familiar with. But do I really need to remember everyone's name in, say, a 40-strong company? Well, yes, I do. And I will promise to try my very best to remember at all times. Now, being part of the production team and leading on music invariably means I'm going to be working with everyone. A music director should always be free to answer questions on the music, give encouragement, help individuals you may feel are struggling. Being open and friendly in all your interactions ensures you give the impression you are always there to help and assist in whatever way you can. But if you can't remember their name, it will start to impede on this. Plus, if I don't remember the name, I'll start to look a bit stupid. So, at this first rehearsal, I admit to all in attendance that names are an issue with me. And because of this, there may be times when I refer to an individual by pointing at them and perhaps referring to them, you, the lady in the blue dress. I'm not being rude, so please bear with me. Tip number 3, explain the difference between rehearsals and learning. This first rehearsal is the ideal opportunity to talk about company members' responsibility to learn. What do I mean by that? Well, it's very easy to fall into the trap that Monday or Wednesday night, whichever night your rehearsal is, to learn the production you're working towards. This works fine for choreography. For instance, you're shown what to do with your feet, where you move on stage, you practice it with others and start to see the numbers come together with your friends there on stage in the moment. You attend each rehearsal and gradually you start to remember the steps. You might even be a responsible company member and write down the moves in the order that you taught them. Great, it's all coming together. But learning the songs, the harmony lines sometimes, the melodies, and especially the words, does not come from singing them with your friends at rehearsal. It comes from doing some homework. And this is where I like to point out the very important difference between rehearsing and learning. Rehearsing, like with choreography, is done in the rehearsal room. But the learning, especially of the words, cannot be done the same way. Learning is a separate process altogether and is best done at home. How many times have you or your director said at some point, okay, from today onwards, we want no books, and there is a gasp from the company because until then, they have had the comfort of reading the books or the music and having it in front of them. And they haven't picked up a book or a sheet of paper other than on rehearsal night. Those that have gone through the audition process and got a role in a production has gone home and started to learn. The company has to do exactly the same. This is especially true of productions or concerts that have numerous musical numbers involved. If you have a 6-month rehearsal period, why on earth should you leave it until the last month before you start to actually learn the words? Because this is what tends to happen if you as the musical director doesn't keep a tab on how well your company is learning and progressing. If you have 6 months rehearsal time and 6 production numbers, then why not learn to pace yourself and learn 1 a month? So be mindful then on how your company's learning is progressing and point out the distinction between rehearsing and learning at the first rehearsal. And don't forget to test this on occasion by rehearsing a number without books early in the rehearsal process. Tip number 4, do your preparation. Before entering the room for your first rehearsal, well, before any rehearsal actually, you need to know exactly what you want to achieve from that rehearsal and what you need to cover. And you can only do that by preparing beforehand. Make sure you know the harmony lines you intend to teach, and just as importantly, who is to sing which line. Make your rehearsals worthwhile. If you prepare as you should and get done what you need to do, everyone will feel that they have actually achieved something. And if they feel that, they in turn will feel that if they miss a rehearsal, or need I say it, come late, they have actually missed out on something important. Everyone should feel part of a well-organised group whose purpose is to do as well as they possibly can. And it's up to you from a music perspective that they do that. But you won't earn the respect if you seem to be unprepared, or you turn up at rehearsal and are heard to say, "What shall we do tonight?" Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. Listen to Benjamin Franklin. He knew his stuff. And finally, tip number 5, don't do a sing-along. That first rehearsal is sometimes sold as a get-to-know-you type evening. Well, you can get to know everyone, that's fine. But I've experienced some MDs that have a sing-through of the score on that first rehearsal. That's an absolute no-no for me. You're very likely to have some company members who will struggle to sing harmony parts or learn harmony lines. Why on earth then would you start off by getting them to sing the tune at the first rehearsal? As we said before, start as we mean to go on. Don't do the opposite either by choosing a musical number that you think will be the hardest and therefore needs to be started first, as it will need the most work. Choose a company number that is relatively easy one and will get a quick satisfaction fix straight away. Make your company feel that they are making a good sound early on and have actually achieved a good result at their very first rehearsal. Save the harder numbers maybe until rehearsal number 2, and don't be tempted to spend all your rehearsal time on that one number either. Remember your company's attention span. Change numbers, mix things up, helps keep them fresh. So, whether you're starting a new production with a company you know or even a new company, that first rehearsal should be one to remember. Remember then, you're there to work and to smile and to encourage and to inspire all those that you're teaching. Stay alert and energised, and whenever you can, maintain that energy until the very last night of the performance. Did you really think being a music director was about conducting? See you next time.